should we fight human nature? Or nature in general, I guess. That question popped into my head recently and now it's bugging me. So I'm going to try and answer it here. I guess more so for myself than anything else. Um, but yeah, essentially I'm not making any normative claims. I'm not saying that we are innately good or that we are innately selfish, just in a very descriptive sense of the word nature. We act in certain ways and we do certain things. Um, and so, at first pass, first glance, it seems like we clearly already do fight nature, in like lots and lots of aspects of life. We we like farm our food and we build houses and beds and electricity and running water. We, terraform the land. We do all these things that seem to kind of go against nature. So environment wise, sure. Um, we end up fighting nature. Should we? I don't know, it's a different question. But the type of nature I'm looking at or thinking about more is like our psychological nature or our mental states that we oftentimes explain away or justify because they are our nature or in our nature. And and so I think all of this kind of comes down to a type of like idealism or the need for some sort of like um normative foot to be put down, um, to kind of legislate between what things should be permissible, um, that are in accordance with human nature, and then what things shouldn't be permissible that are also in accordance with human nature. But I'll sketch out like two types of ways of thinking that you guys can probably like sympathize with, or you guys can probably like uh, relate to in some way. So like one way of looking at psychological states that are defended by human nature is in saying like, okay, we certain things like cooperation, like being social, like the heuristics that we kind of always use and implement in daily life, our appreciation of aesthetics or attraction to certain things or people or music or art. um, all of these things we say, they are good because it's in our nature to some extent. um, why do we do these things? It's because it's in our nature. And we just kind of leave it at that, and we're happy with that answer. And we don't question it anymore. Um, People don't ask themselves, why is it good to like enjoy music or like it's because it's in our nature and we're social creatures and music feels nice and let's just leave it at that. And then on the other hand, we have lots of other like let's call them like psychological phenomena or mental states that we undergo, that we like point our little like moral finger at and we say, no, 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 that's a bad human nature. We're not supposed to be doing that type of stuff. Things like acting violently, discriminating or stereotyping, all types of heuristics, when we appeal to authority, or when we have these in-group out-group biases, when we seek status and when we act tribalistically, like all these other types of behaviors that are explained in saying, "Oh, that's just human nature." We look at those things and we say all of a sudden, "Okay, no, that's bad. Let's not. Let's try and like steer clear or like limit and mitigate that type of human nature." And so I'm at odds with trying to accept human nature in a descriptive sense, or just accept human nature in a descriptive sense to explain away the goodness or badness of actions. And so I think I've been leaning towards trying to answer the question of whether or not we should fight nature, in saying that if nature is aligned with ideals, whether those are like Platonic ideals or, I don't know, some sort of like German ideals or some other type of metaphysical ideal, then we should stand behind that type of human nature. And if it's not in line with ideals, then we should, wave our little moral finger at it and say no. Um, but I'm still unsure and uncertain about how we should cash out human nature. Um, and I don't care much for Hobbes or Nietzsche's or any of those types of explanations, because all of those make normative assumptions about human nature off the get-go. I want to look more at like justifying human nature, um, and it is from like going from descriptive to prescriptive. Hopefully that made a tiny bit of sense, and hopefully some of you guys are clever enough to give me some good answers. Okay, now I can go do my homework. Bye.